Awesome. So this is part 2 of our childcare subsidy roundtable, specifically focusing on for lack of a better word, the $10 a day childcare. As you can probably see, the focus today is on Ontario, as we're really in the thick of things right now. So we wanted to continue that conversation. That was also a theme of all the conversations I was having with my clients over the last couple of weeks, and thought it was the appropriate time to pull everybody together again, and give the chance to make sure we're all on the same page, and from a texture standpoint that we understand the path that everybody is taking. So thank you for joining us. Kind of overview, what I had said there is we had a previous childcare subsidy discussion in July, which that was really when we were starting to learn about what everything was going to, all of the different rules and all of the different ways that we could go about it. We talked about our functionality during that conversation of what Avocado currently does have. And hoping that we were going to be able to take advantage of that as much as possible, especially knowing that once we knew what the path we were supposed to take, it was going to be very quick moving, which I think right now everybody's kind of in the thick of getting everything moving, and making those decisions. So if you did miss that, we do have it on our YouTube playlist where you can find it there. As always, these invitations and our events in general are on Meetup. So we have an Avocado User Group there, and feel free to join if you haven't already. So as mentioned, most of today is going to be a roundtable discussion. When we did send out the invitation, we asked for you to be able to maybe speak to what your organization is doing, what challenges do you foresee, and how can Avocado assist, those are the 3 themes that we really discussed in any of the client meetings that I had as well. So really wanting to focus on, I guess we'll break it down, and having each of the organizations share what path they are going to be taking, how they are going to be handling all of these discounts and adjustments that and third-party billing, however you're kind of going about it, for the $10 a day childcare. So I'm not sure if anybody wants to start off that conversation.
Even just sharing where you are in your thought process would help us understand, or anything that we should be aware of in order to better support you.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Christy.
So I guess I'll start off by saying my name is Christy. I work for Vivo for Healthier Generations in Calgary, Alberta, and we're a recreation center. 90% of our building right now is closed for renovation and expansions. And so my particular job, which I'm very new at as well to Vivo, so Avocado has been all new learning curve for the last 2 months for me. And our focus is on preschool right now. So that's how we're first starting to use Avocado. So it has been incredibly challenging in terms of for me specifically, learning the process, yet starting to register families. And so kind of blend that early childhood role and expectations behind legislation and blend it with recreation. And so Avocado is that link for us to be able to make those connections. We're using Avocado for a parent portal. So our parents sign up online, or supposed to sign up online, but a lot of them have opted not to sign up online and just come in and sign up with me because of some of the logistical pieces that, I guess the technical pieces they can't maneuver. And so they come up and sign up with me through the registration process. We have our prompt questions that we utilize. Our prompt questions right now we're having issues with, but we're working through those. And then ideally, we would love to have our preschool educators sign children in and out using, like having a fully functional tool for early childhood that we could use. So parent registrations, signing in and out, having our emergency portals on that. So hopefully it's going to be an iPad that we just kind of tuck away with us and take wherever we go in this, in our building. So I'm not sure if that's what you're looking, but that's kind of my new face to recreation and yet to Avocado. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. That's great to hear, and being able to share a little bit about what Vivo is doing in terms of with what you're doing with preschool. Are you? So I know you're more the Alberta side of things. Are you eligible, and are you implementing the $10 a day childcare there? And if so, do you know how you guys are implementing it?
No, not the 10
Okay.
day a day. We're preschool specific, so we
Okay.
we only operate 3 hours, but very familiar with early childhood childcare programs. So yeah, no, we aren't doing that right now.
Okay, no problem.
But we do get, with all the changes from the federal government, we are getting a lot and receiving a lot of those grants and opportunities. So yeah.
Perfect. And then that's kind of what makes sense in having these conversations, because even though it's specific to the $10 a day childcare, all of that, the similar functionality goes for all of those different grants. So we appreciate sharing. And if you have any thoughts with those specific grants of how you are implementing them throughout this conversation or later on, feel free to reach out and mention those as well, because we always like to learn from each other.
Thank you.
Anybody else able to share what they're doing with the third party or adjustments or childcare? I don't want to. I'll start picking on people otherwise, but
I can. Oh, go ahead.
So I am with Southwestern Ontario. We have started Quelk. We've currently done Huron County, signed on and applied. We've also signed on with Lambton. Next up are Oxford and Elgin and Windsor. For subsidy, we're finding municipalities have different rules around how they're doing partial and full subsidy. Huron, we didn't touch fully subsidized families, but partly subsidized, we're just adjusting the rate that the parents are paying. Lambton, they're actually revising even the full sub families. So we're applying Quelk 25% and then fully subsidizing the rest. That's different than what we have been doing. The only challenge that we found so far, well, actually two, is when we have a second payer, where we go in and add another client payer, especially if they're the 1st and the 15th of the month. We actually literally have to withdraw and restart. Because when you go in to add another payer, it only lets you select one or the other and not both. So that would be something that I would like to see happen, that if when you go in to add another client payer, that you can select the 1st and the 15th in there as well, because it automatically defaults to the end of the month, and you're either changing it to the 1st or the 15th and then going back in to add another line for each of the months that we're doing. And sometimes when we're applying the Quelk, it doesn't apply it equally, so we have to withdraw and start all over. The other challenge we're finding is when we have staff discounts. Krista's been doing those. I'm not too sure what steps there are involved to get that discount applied for staff. And I think we'll run into the same thing when we do London, because London, they have second and third child discounts as well. So a second child is 5%, third child is and fourth child is like 10 and 15. So I think we'll run into challenges applying Quelk during those phases as well, and how we apply those discounts.
thank you for sharing that. I saw, as you mentioned about the multiple adjustments, I saw a lot of people nodding their heads on that one. What path are you going to say something, Matthew, on that?
Yeah, can you just express what you mean by that, just to make sure it's clear to us? Multiple adjustments you can't apply with an additional payer, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so when we go in, so we've got mom paying on the original invoice, we go in, add another client payer.
Yeah.
When you go in, it has like the 12 months, because we do like the full school year, the 10 months. It'll only give you one line. So you can't add another line to do like the 1st and then the 15th and split that.
So the schedule, I think we understand, and one of the comments I wanted to make, and we'll come back to this, is Johnny, there is a task in one of the sprints around being able to alter the payment schedule for an additional pair. Would you be able to dig that task number up? It's not exactly what you said, Heather and team, but I wanted to make sure we coordinated the two. Thank you.
Yeah,
and then you said something about adjustments, though. That's where I was not clear.
Adjustments.
Or
Sorry.
maybe I misunderstood. I think we used the term adjustment, but it was scheduled payment, right? So it was about scheduling the payments.
Yes. When
Okay.
we had the, yeah.
I must have misunderstood. I thought there was a multiple adjustment issue. Thank you. Okay, we're good. I appreciate you clarifying.
Not a problem.
Is there any, do you mind if I ask a question, Heather? Is there any retro concerns?
So we went back to April 1st. The only one that I think we'll find issue with is Windsor, because Windsor is a whole new entity on its own for us. They do like an hour rate, but then they don't have like a before and after code, or like, so they could have registered for an hour before school, but like a full after school, and it's all separate in Windsor. So then I'm going to have to go back through, and it's nothing to do with Avocado. It's from our end as a registration process and how everything was set up. That's going to be challenging for us. Moving forward, September, we did our price books different, but April to June for those under 6 is going to be a challenge.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm clear. So I think everyone's in the same situation where they have to apply these after the fact.
Yes.
After people have already paid. And one of the questions I have, which I know I'm a little green on this, but I would appreciate understanding it. Mm-hmm. Is that going to continue, or is it just one time that you have to retro this in the future?
One time. It's from April to June for under 6. And we have to apply those discounts up to the end of December. We can't carry it over into January because it has to be this tax year. So any credits owing to the family after everything's done, we have to refund them within a certain time frame. And that's the other thing, is it's so time sensitive. From start to finish, it's 20 days. It's not 20 business days. It's 20 days from the time you have money in the bank.
Gotcha. Last question, and I'm sure these are similar questions for everyone. But can you speak to that comment of refund? Meaning it's not a credit on the account that you apply to something. You have to give the money back. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So if they have current registrations, we apply it to what their current registration is up until the end of December. Then any monies owing to that family in this calendar year, we have to physically refund them back to their account.
So you are applying up to a certain date and then refunding. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate the clarity.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that we did as well for under 6, we only registered to December, because as of January 1st, there's going to be another decrease. So we didn't want to have them registered from September to June and then have to go back and change the deductions again starting in January.
Okay. Sorry to monopolize the time. Sarah, Johnny, team, if there's more questions or anyone, please bring them up.
Absolutely. I was wondering, I'm going to pick on you because I saw you nodding pretty heavily during that. How is HBB handling those scenarios?
So it sounds additional ones.
Yeah, well, we're taking a different approach. So it sounds like we're not as far along as SWO. We are about to sign a contract with our first of 3 municipalities, and that will start the clock. As Heather mentioned, we'll have 20 days to get a lot of money out the door. We are going to, for these retroactive refunds back to April 1st, we're going to open their orders and apply a third-party billing to gather all of the monies from each region. And it works great. The third-party billing works great, really reportable, really clean on an accounting lens. The issues we run into are when there are multiple payers on the account, for sure, because you can't tell Avocado which part of the payment schedule to calculate first, second, and third. So it just all calculates together, which makes sense, but it makes it challenging. So we found a way without withdrawing and re-enrolling to modify existing payment schedules for other client payers, etc. But it is a multi-step operation. And then I would say the other issues that we're facing is, like, once you add a third-party payer, you've taken care of part of the order. Now there's extra money that's appeared as a credit. That's great. We can refund that credit. There's just no way to tag the credit. So if we process the refund, it just shows up on the refund report, and we don't necessarily want to pay it out of order or out of sync. And if there are multiple in a family, it would be nice to batch them, but there's no way to tag the refund and say this is part of the CWELCC refund batch rather than regular course of operations refunds. So that's a really small issue, but that's what we're facing.
And same rules, obviously, you're following where you're refunding up to, you're applying any credit to outstanding amounts up to a certain date and then refunding the rest?
That's not my understanding. I believe we are giving money back to families for everything from April through October.
Okay.
That could be region specific, and then we'll look at the next reduction in a future wave.
And then the last question I have on that is, can you tell us a bit about the refund? I should have asked Heather you this too, but a bit about the refund. Is it always going to be a check? Is it, if you come up with a common way of doing this, or is it, how are you intending to do that?
I might actually lean on Tara, who's here from HPB.
So someone might have paid with, credit card or some other payment method, and I'm just wondering how you're, are you just saying, no, what? No, it's blanket. We're mailing you a check. And I don't know. I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just asking. Yeah. And maybe same question for you, Heather, Tara's title.
Yeah, for our organization, we actually do an EFT, so we transfer it electronically back to their account. We don't use credit cards or anything for childcare payments. So the bank account we use for withdrawal, we send it back automatically. So we're actually doing an Excel spreadsheet, sending it to finance so that they can do them in batches.
Yeah, that's outside of Avocado sending an upload to the bank. Okay.
Yeah. The thing with the refunds as well, which is what I forgot to mention, thank you, Adam, for mentioning it, is when you're doing the retroactive, every month is a different credit on the account. So I'm doing multiple instead of being able to lump them all together to do one transaction as a refund. So it'd be nice to just click on all of them and click refund and be done with it, instead of having April, May, June, and July and have to do every separate order.
Understand. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
In Eastern Ontario, I think we're kind of closely aligned. Well, maybe a bit of a mix. We're using adjustments to do the refund. Similar to Adam, we'll be refunding all of it back to the families. What our kind of current plan is, we also haven't started. We've signed our contracts, but are waiting on the final documents for refund amounts from the municipality and city. So we're kind of right in that middle, waiting to press go. But we're planning to do the credit card refunds through Moneris, right through Avocado, just refund them right back. And then those that we can, and then what we can't do, we would be issuing a check for. Just a little less time consuming doing the credit cards where possible. But it does mean that we'd be processing 5 refunds in a row, because you'd have to do it by order, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're getting their money back, so I don't think they'll be too upset if it's in multiple transactions.
But it is still treating each order as such as we can definitely understand that challenge.
But like you said, Matthew, it is kind of a one-time issue. We're doing this and fingers crossed, knock on wood, we don't have to do refunds again.
Yeah, it's not like it's always going to happen. Next month you're charging full, or next year you're charging full and then have to retro it again. You're going to be charging the right amount next year.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, for us, we're hoping for November 1. We're using adjustments to adjust off the CWELC amount and just named our adjustment the same so that we could pull a report and make sure it matches.
Gotcha. Okay. I'll let Sarah go back to her regular schedule. Who's next?
No, that's okay. I haven't heard from Jen. Are you able to share a little bit from YSM? I am picking on you because I have heard from multiple clients that you have been a wealth of knowledge with this. So I do want to acknowledge that as well. I appreciate you taking the lead on that.
Yeah, no worries. Ours is similar to what Emily explained, but we're a little further ahead. We jump started. Like our agreements have been signed, just signed today, actually. One of them, we did get the funds very quickly because our Parry Sound region is very small. So that came in today, and that starts the clock for that region. We're still waiting a few weeks for money from the other regions. But regardless, we went ahead and we started doing the credit / refunds. And so we are in a little bit of a different situation because we are using the automatic rollover. And I had built separate codes for different kinds of fees that people pay. So I would have all my full-timers in one code, all my part-timers in another, all the people that get subsidy in a different instance code, all the people who have Y stuff discount in a different one. So they're all nice and separate. So we're doing this in phases. We're about just over a third of the way through handling these credits and refunds, which is speeding along nicely. So I'm not concerned that we're not going to meet the 20-day deadline. As Emily said, we are using adjustments. So we're not touching the fees, but we are adding an adjustment and rule that takes off 25% up to a certain date automatically for future invoices that get created in rollover. Whereas the ones, the retroactive ones, yes, we have to go and open each order and add the manual adjustment to each one, which results in a credit. That credit is applied to anything they owe for October 15th tomorrow, as well as their November bill, because we generated those early. But anything left over is being refunded either through Moneris and our credit card through Avocado, or by an EFT transfer that happens outside of Avocado in our other financial system. And with that, I think like Adam mentioned, we're just here, bank, here's a spreadsheet, here's all the people to e-transfer back these amounts.
And so you are using e-transfer for those remaining?
For whatever's left over after we use their credit towards these next 3 payments. Just because of tax receipt, as I think Heather mentioned. And so when December does roll around, my hope is that I can open all adjustments with that name. We named them all exactly the same. And just say change the amount from 25 to 50% off. And that way we don't have to go and do this all again.
That makes sense. So it seems as if everybody kind of has those similar challenges, similar kind of next steps, a little bit different, but enough that using the functionality that already exists for the most part, both whether it is using something, which I'm glad to hear that at least the adjustment rules are helping going forward, and then it's just the ones that you're touching going backwards, like retroactively there. It seems again like similar challenges that we're facing. I know typically we've been hearing from the operations side of things. I know there are a couple of different finance people on this call as well. Is there anything that you want to add in terms of these challenges or next steps? I think, go ahead, Sasha.
Just a quick question, because both Heather and Jen mentioned they can do EFTs quite easily. I'm just wondering what your process is, because we don't find it as easy. Either Jen or Heather.
Well, so when you're doing one by one, you're like, yes, it's not easy. We're transferring things out of Avocado into our we use Unison still for financials. So if you're doing one by one, no, it is not easy. But what our finance team is going to do is, you can just submit like an Excel or a text file to the bank, so long as you have the account details and the amount that you want to refund. So it may be done in the bank and not necessarily Unison, but we're already completing that work in Avocado.
Okay, so it is a separate Excel spreadsheet. I think because we're gonna just stick with checks. I think it's just easier than finding the bank account information one by one.
I've been involved with SWOs a few times, and Heather, I'll let you speak up about this, but essentially they just use Notepad and create a file that they upload to the bank the same way we generate one. They generate one manually is really all they're doing.
So you, when you say, sorry, maybe Sasha can clarify. I might be asking the wrong question.
Yeah, whenever I do the EFTs, or whenever I do the runs on the 1st and the 15th, it comes up as a notepad that I upload to the bank. But my question is, how do we get these specific accounts and the banking information just for those?
I think the answer is manually. They literally type it into Excel, keep track of it, and create a file manually is how I believe SWO's doing it, unless that's changed, Heather. I used to help finance with that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just a manual process.
Okay, thank you.
You can get some of it from like a report.
Yeah, but I mean to actually create a discount, you're absolutely right, Jen. You could report on the bank information and get it into a closer format. You're absolutely right. Yeah. But the actual act of generating that file has to kind of be orchestrated manually, is all I'm trying to point out.
Is there anything else that really anybody on the call wants to chat about in terms of the next steps and challenges before I move into the third part of the discussion?
Did we get everyone that's here? I apologize.
We've gotten at least one person from each of the organizations that are here. But yeah, please go ahead, Sheila.
Hi, I'm in Timmins. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
We used third party in order to put the discounts on. We signed a couple of weeks ago, so we're on that time lapse right now, which just has me slightly more panicked than I would like to be today. But when we put them in, started in September, we put September to December in as third party for Seawalk at 25%, ended it then, started up again January 1st at 50%. May have to play with the date if something's weird there, but I'm hoping we are set to run right through till next September on that one. For the refunds, it was decided between finance and some of the teams that we're just going to be doing checks. I can say that now that I've started doing those checks, that whoever has to figure out the checks and the cash portion, it's going to be miserable. There's multiple locations, there's multiple people doing it at the same time. They're all going to be mixed up in there, and just to be able to pull that report and make it easier. And the checks are going to run from April through to the end of August for ours. It'll be cleaner because they'll just get a check and we're not fighting around with EFTs, because a good portion of ours are getting credit cards is how they're paying. That's kind of the one downfall I'm seeing, is whoever has to balance that out. And then for the parental contributions, where I'm paying back a portion of it, that part, I'm just now seeing the information from our local municipality on that and trying to figure out how to apply that. I think it's going to have to be applied as a family, as an amount, because if they've got 3 kids, they're dividing the amount of that parental contribution between the 3 kids now. So the one person that it used to be on, who may have qualified for it, you're not going to get the same amount as before. And haven't quite wrapped my head around how to do that, if anybody's done those steps yet.
In Simcoe Muskoka, like how I broke it out into these phases, our county subsidy is next, but our counties are providing a brand new letter or approval amount, where they used to do it like, here's your parent rate per family.
Mhm.
They know now that can't happen, and we need a per child rate because of that issue.
I've got that going forward, but it's going backwards in time, where they were all invoiced with just like on the youngest child, and then trying to figure out how to apply that.
The county's giving us like a retroactive letter, so it's a change that we have to make saying this was your rate since April.
Okay, I think I'm just gonna put it on whatever child it was on and hope it more or less works. Just as long as they get the total over that period, that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a fair path.
And I probably have a slight, I'm billing at the end of the month, so I'm checking it all kind of so for September and that it's going to go out and money is going to come out of people's accounts after I've checked it all. That's probably the one difference I've got.
Has TechShare or Avocado done any tests with tax receipts with this kind of messiness? Like, do we know what to expect? Is it going to be wonky?
We haven't done specific $10 a day. We have tested each scenario independent, and I think it's a very valid point, Jen. That's something we can assist with.
Okay.
So we'll take that down as something we can assist with, right? So that's a very good point. And please bring those types of questions forward because we definitely are here to assist.
Yes, I do appreciate that, especially as we look forward to, I know February is going to come very quick, and we will do that testing. And like Matthew had said, I know we've tested with third party, we've tested with adjustments, we've tested the functionality for that, but it is all of it kind of coming together. We want to make sure it's as smooth as possible for you. Along that path, I know there were a couple different things that we were talking about in client meetings as we were thinking going forward especially into the 2023 year of what TechShare can do to assist, what functionality we're hoping to see, or what kind of help we're hoping to see in whatever kind of capacity. So wondering if there were already thoughts surrounding that, especially when it comes to not just a one-time thing, that's something kind of going forward that it will be kind of helpful there.
So we did hear, just to make sure we start the conversation off right. Amazing suggestion, Jen. Let's make sure our tax receipt season is good. So let's get these exact scenarios in place and verify we're good. The second thing we heard was around additional pair. I don't know that's it's indirectly related to all this that's going on. I think it's just exemplifying that challenge. So we'll make sure we get a task in place and that you guys are aware of, and we'll be able to track that through to see if we can get that fixed for you. I think we did hear a third one that I still am a little confused about, which was the discounts. Maybe it got removed from the notes, Sarah. Maybe.
I may have gotten it wrong too, as I've been
reading. Okay, never mind.
Trying to keep up with everything as we're typing.
After I clarified that, Heather, I saw the notes went in with it. I'm like, geez, did I get it wrong again? But they have been updated. Never mind, we'll leave that one for now. So those are the two that we did hear so far. I would like to just clarify, maybe not right this second, Heather, in front of everyone, but about your staff discount. You explained that, but I don't know that I have that understood correctly. So it might make sense to spend a few more minutes, maybe not in front of everyone, just clarifying what that challenge for you was. So I'll leave. I'm sorry to take over. I just want to make sure you're aware we already heard you on these items. Is there something else we're missing? I'd love to go around the table again if that works for everyone.
And the caveat, as I kind of mentioned, that we've been trying to take notes, but if we have missed it, please repeat it so that we can make sure we want to be as thorough as possible.
Mind if we just go around the table? Jen, is there anything you can think of? I'll let Sarah take control.
Nothing immediate, like my pie in the sky now that we're using like rolling registration would be that one day it sort of works like membership where it cuts off at those specific age points in renewals. So that like Sewell would stop or toddler would stop to go into preschool, like those kind of things. But I don't need that anytime soon. That's just something that we're hoping for. As far as the employee discount that you brought up, Heather, We were under the impression, or we were told, they're not allowed to get both Seawell and an employee discount. We had to take them off employee discount and put them onto the government funding. And maybe it's different everywhere. I'm not sure.
I think that's definitely a challenge. I know, Adam, you've hit the nail on the head there. It seems to be provincially and that, or federally, then provincially and municipalities, and especially when we do have. I think pretty much everyone here has has multiple municipalities that they're kind of dealing with at the same time, which is definitely that added layer of complexity. So Jen, is that sorry, I was just going to say, I know you said that about staff discounts. Is that also with any other, like that's across the board? They can't have that and any other discounts, or is it just?
No,
Okay.
It was just staff. Which at the end of the day, our staff discount is 25%. Seawell is currently 25%. So no one's going to actually, they spend less because they don't have to have a taxable benefit on their income taxes. So it's a win. We just have to move all those people out of the Y code, we call it, into the regular ones. Yeah, so that part should be fine. And then I do have a report like built of all the adjustments that I use Seawell on, so that we can give that back to the various governments involved and say, this is how much we used.
And say if there was a staff discount for the people receiving the funding, could you, because we're going to use third-party bill, but the staff discount would have to be on the reduced amount, like would have to be on the $12 a day. So I don't know if you'd have to, like say infant $60 a day, and you third-party
You'd have to
bill.
do them in order.
Sorry?
You'd have to do them in order. Like, so I have this situation with our split billing families because we don't use third party or external payer. We just make two completely different accounts and have that second adjustment. So you can't have like 50% adjustment on each payer and then the government fund. You have to have the government fund 25% off and then a second adjustment to split it up.
Okay.
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate all your insight there. And we did take the note of not required, but wanted around the rollover age out. We have done a bit of testing on that with our friend Azim from HPB on membership. It's not exactly related, but he's using price groups now with memberships, which is interesting, and charging different prices, not registering different programs. It is different. I understand that, but it is highlighting some things that need to be considered when we do that stuff. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no, the membership one is one we want to.
It's an interesting model, and we spent a lot of effort on it. So it should help you in many ways. Not solve all the problems, but help it for sure. Thank you, Jen.
I'm going to pick on you again, Adam, because I know that was a very similar conversation that we were having in ours with, again, that pie in the sky of if there is any functionality that we currently have to stop things, because we do understand that as soon as a child ages out, it's the day of their birthday that they can't get that discount anymore, and how to monitor that. So I know, I guess, kind of going back to you, Jen, or Adam, if you want to add more information, or really anybody else, how are you currently going to be dealing with that? As there's no functionality, as Matthew kind of mentioned, right now. So as that backup plan, what's the path?
I think
so. We have I call it an age calculator. It's just an Excel chart that says if their birthday is this day, end the adjustment rule on this time, or end the rollover contract on this time. And so we just use end dates. And that's why we have that report that we called priority re-enroll, just to say all these contracts are ending on this day. Those are the people that you're going to have to manually move into the next pricing.
So having right now our programs can roll from one program to another, but not based on age is the challenge. Yeah. So we understand that. And then the discount challenge, you're just putting an end date on the discount or on the adjustment because you're using adjustments. Yeah, gotcha.
Does anybody else want to touch base on that? Because I know that was a theme that we had talked about with a number of, I've had a number of conversations surrounding that. If Adam, you want to expand a little bit more, or if Emily, you guys have a path from YEO?
We're using the discount or adjustment and discount rules kind of thing. And we're just setting up the end date as their birth date because it's a flat 25%. It's an easy adjustment rule. For those, like, we're just sending an end date right now for what that birth date is. We had been back and forth, but we think that's cleanest. I think each municipality is slightly different. I think it sounds like ours will be that it's till the end of the month of their birth date. So we're gonna probably go off of that.
That makes sense.
But that, yeah. I do have one question, and I'm sorry if it was asked. I got pulled away for a second. For the adjustment rules, because we need to switch, we're doing adjustments, and then we need to move it to 50% in the new year. Is there a way to batch change those if they're all named the same, the adjustment rule, or do we have to go into each one?
Do you want me to take that, Sarah, or would you like to?
If you don't mind.
It sounds like something that can be done fairly easily with Data Loader. It's something that is not normally supported. It's not something that we encourage. With adjustments, it's a little simpler because it's kind of this separate table sitting out there, and it's less integrated. It has less implications if you manage the adjustments. So if you just literally go to the adjustments tab in Salesforce and create a view, you could probably just change them real quick right there in the same screen, or use a data loader. And I'd urge you to contact the account rep or support to understand what's involved with that.
Yeah, that's what we had tested. Like, our current rule might end in June of 2026 because that's when they're turning 6 years old. But you can just go in there and change the 25% to 50.
I think Sheila, you had your hand up first.
Yep. We're going old school on that whole age thing, and we've added dates to our Excel sheets, just catching the right one and then catching it as they hit that right age. The nice part of it, it's the end of the school year, so I don't have to worry. There'll be a few I have to worry about from now to December and then catch them after. And I don't have the same numbers as some people. And then for the other part where, since we're using the rollover, I hope I've got them all set up that January, whenever I've got January 1st right now, I may have to go in and change dates for when it switches to 50%, but I'm hoping they just go from one project or from 25% to 50%, and we don't have to touch it now.
It's Sasha.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, since we know it's a 5-year rollout with the amounts being adjusted, is there a way to, from a functionality point of view, to make this automated for the next 4 years, where it automatically changes the amounts? Just something to throw out there for Avocado, like from a technical point of view.
I can take that if you'd like, Sarah. We'd love to automate as much as possible. I'm not saying we can. There's things I think we might be able to from what we've heard today. The challenge will be every client will probably want to do it a little differently and a little different timing. So it'll probably be a better statement to say if there's things we can provide you to help to make this, I'll say, simpler. It would be ideal. One of the things that we've been looking at, and I'm not suggesting that we can do it right away, but right now you have to go into each order and change them. There is work underway that allows us to recalculate all of our orders at once. So if we were to batch change, just like you talking about changing your adjustments, change the adjustments and then just recalculate. That's something we're looking at doing. We have work already has already happened on that. It's just not something we're able to release to you yet, but our intention is to get to that point where you can say, hey, I've made a change, click, let me recalculate all my childcare orders. Oops, I charged the wrong price. Let me recalculate it all. Now that's big. So I want to make sure we're careful on that. it's not quite as simple as I'm making it sound. So those are the types of things we are working on, Sheila, or Sasha, sorry. But there are, if there's ideas about what we could automate, I'm just struggling with that a little bit.
Hi, it's Sheila again. With the rollovers, and if you're going to keep the contracts open and you're going through, I put instances in until the end of September. And that's where I stop my instances. So I know they're going to go that far, but I don't have anything else sitting there. Can I start instances up for September and have the August one roll into September, like from one batch to the other?
If you're using rollover reg, yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I could just keep doing that as I go in. If I have to change the third-party billing for Seawilk, I can do that, or anything like that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I think we've talked about doing a little more work on, communicating rollover reg setup. We've tried to do some work on it, but I think there's some more work that needs to happen. We've had Vic from HBB talk about it as well, how they're using it, but there is talk about how do we make this, how do we communicate this more to you guys? How do we, create better documentation or help you? But that was one of the topics of our user group already, and there's talk about doing more.
So to add to that, Sheila, that we can send over to you the recording from when we talked about rollover registration and engage, as well as our rollover playbook, so that those might be able to help you out as well.
Okay, yeah, I think I've got them set up. I just wasn't sure about that transition from one to the other, and I was really hoping that's the way it worked. So, okay.
Definitely. I like what Jen said, that she's got 3 years in, so
yes.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that looks really good.
So I know we have about 10 minutes left, so just wanted to give that time check in. Continuing on, I don't know if we've heard from everybody. I think I've spoken for you a lot, Adam, but I don't think I've actually given you the floor to chat more about what HBB is hoping to see.
Sure. Yeah, so I think we're happy with our choice to use third-party billing for the CWELCC refunds. Using it on a go-forward basis should also be relatively simple. The only sticky step is changing the third-party billing amounts and changing all the associated contracts. But we have a strategy for that using some data loader tools. In terms of what, sorry, where did my notes go? In terms of what would be helpful, I would echo that some finer control over childcare rollover. So an ability to change the payment schedule option on rollover, or more fine control over the trigger. Yes, we can set a trigger, but then if you miss it, you either have to reset the trigger for everyone. There's no way to sort of just do what membership does, which is catch up. The system scans and finds memberships that should be renewed and says, hey, these aren't renewed, let's do it. Age control, etc. And then on the rollover, just a cleaner or more intuitive way to control other client payers, third-party payers, etc., so that we can tweak the rollover contract and watch it happen. Because I did it this morning, I set it up and I thought it would all work and I rolled it over, and then there's no rewind button. I can't unroll it over. So in terms of rollovers, I think just continuing to evolve that functionality. And then the other one that would be really helpful for us is, because we're using third party, is just more comprehensible third party reading in the Avocado menu. So if there are third party payers on my account, it would be nice to see in my account history, orders that have been paid by other payers. And I know we have a statement of work for that, but I think that's going to be, we're going to hear more voices in our association looking for easier ways to explain the billing to our customers when we use third parties, and to understand it and just read receipts on it a little cleaner.
Absolutely. That brings up a good question that maybe others will be able to add information on, of how they're currently managing that, of when it does come to those third-party payers or other client payments, how those are showing up on their accounts, not on that I'll use the example of a child's account. How are you mitigating that for now? So if I had my child in daycare and Matthew was just really nice and wanted to pay half of my child's daycare, shows up on his account, not on my account, that has been done.
Yeah, we ran away from that. So we have two different accounts and an adjustment of whatever percent or dollar each parent is doing, just so that there were too many like privacy issues and fights with exes and things that just wasn't worth us getting involved in.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
I think everyone has that challenge. So I don't think we're going to solve that today, but it's a very good point, Adam. And I think it's worth some discussions. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But all the areas you mentioned, I think there was probably 3 of them there.
Yeah, to do, especially with the finer control over the rollover. We've got those sorts of where.
And third
we wanna see
part,
that.
additional payers continuously comes up. Hence why Jen said they ran away from that. Those additional pairs has come up a few times. What I don't want to do is give you a piece, or what we don't want to do is give you just, not solve the whole problem, just solve a bit of it. So it definitely should be something we discuss more.
Sure. And not to hijack the meeting in any way, but just to put a bug in your ear, third-party payers doesn't make the money available immediately. So I can't third-party pay to an account credit, even though I know the payer might be good for the money, which has caused some issues in other parts of the operation.
Not sure I understand that. Did anyone else understand that?
Like I can set up an order with third-party payers and I know it'll be paid and that's fine. Yeah. But that payment, I can't set up as a credit on the other person's account. There's probably really good financial reasons why I wouldn't want that, but I can't.
Yeah. So you're saying just on the person's account that took the order, consider the third party paid. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, an ability to market paid, or an ability to like make a balance payment order with a third party payment or something like that.
Might need to talk about that more. I think I understand, but
yeah, and we have a workaround, but as we're talking about third party payers.
Thank you.
We have a couple minutes left. Is there any final thoughts on anything that we've talked about today so far, whether more about your path, any of those challenges you're facing, or what the hopes for Avocado to be able to assist with?
Hi, it's Sheila. Quick question. We've got Seawelk, we've got Métis Nation paying, we would have our municipality, the Métis Nation paying parts of somebody's invoice, and third partying Seawelk to the Métis Nation is what our district is asking us to do, so that they don't actually pay as much. Is that how it's working for everybody else? Has anyone done that? Shaking your head, guys.
Nobody else is facing that challenge.
No, we're being told if the parents are paying part of it, the Métis Nation's part of it, I'm splitting that Seawelk payment between the two of them, and I haven't tackled that yet. I'm going to need help. At some point, I'm going to call somebody and say, how do I just make this work? And I probably have 5 or 6, maybe 10 of them.
So Jen, you haven't tackled that yet, but you are going to, it sounds like. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
at least with our Métis Nation, they're like, letters are the most confusing things ever. So we hold those to the very end.
Yeah, it's going to be the last thing I touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know we third party bill to Children's Services, and I don't believe we're applying QUELP to those invoices.
Yeah, and that's what we found in HPB, is that people who have other sort of subsidy don't meet the minimum threshold where they qualify for the CWE sales, whatever it is, refund. So we're able to ignore them right now.
Right. So some of them are going to need to get paid somehow in there. Anyways, okay. Some of them will skip it. And then my last question is that we run with a lot of part-time. So as I roll over and I have to decide how many days of a week to put into that rollover, because it's not 5 for everybody, and then it rolls over to all of those days, and then I need to go in and adjust it and make it correct. At any point, is that rollover going to be an entire month so that I knew they were in every second week? I could just like put every second week into the rollover. For those parents that are every other week of who's got custody, if you could just put every second week in instead of every week and going in and adjusting it or having to deal with it after rollover.
I see what you're saying. I'm not sure how you would, I think Jen's the only one who's separating them out.
Yeah, we ended up like doing those manually outside of rollover. There's not a ton, but the people who do split weeks or do things like that, we just created all of their like orders for the year. We've always this past year done every month on a separate order just to avoid recalculation issues. So we just make their 10 or 12 invoices and set it and forget it. We don't have them on rollover.
Okay, that's a possibility. We run with a 554 shift in this town that becomes even a little bit trickier to deal with. So
yes.
So I know we're at the top of the hour. I know personally I'm going to have to run on you guys, but I think Sarah could stay if you need to. And thank you guys.
Thank you.
So from
Thanks.
a next step standpoint, Sarah, I think we'll compile this and try to send some information back to you. We really appreciate everyone's feedback and direction.
Absolutely. I echo those thoughts. I think that this was a really valuable and great discussion that we had amongst all of the associations that are here, learning about the path that you are taking, the challenges you are that you foresee or that you've already experienced, whether they're the one-time challenge or something that is going onwards. And like Matthew had suggested or had mentioned as well, different ways for Avocado to be able to assist. So we'll put on our thinking caps after we compile all of this information, and we'll get back to you. As Matthew mentioned as well, I know there's a number of people have to jump off, but I can stay on if there's additional comments or questions that anybody has.
Nope, just thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, folks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Perfect. Awesome. Oh, I'm recording still.